Clash of cultures. Senate debates the cultural fit of comprehensive sexuality education in the Philippines. Manila, Philippines. The Kalabaw Media continues to report on a Senate hearing, where the ongoing inquiry into comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, has ignited a fierce debate about its compatibility with Filipino cultural and religious values. Global CSE models draw criticism. International CSE models came under scrutiny, with critics arguing that some frameworks sexualize children by introducing topics like sexual pleasure and rights at too young an age. Instances of explicit sexual content masquerading as age-appropriate material were highlighted. The focus on power dynamics, gender rights, and equality was a departure from traditional reproductive health education. Lessons from Thailand and Singapore. The Senate examined CSE programs in Thailand and Singapore. Thailand's approach, while successful in reducing HIV and teenage pregnancies, was criticized for its emphasis on prevention over holistic education, including discussions on equality, gender rights, and sexual relationships. Singapore, on the other hand, anchors its program in traditional family values, with abstinence as the primary focus, while also covering contraception, sexual health, and respect for all sexual orientations. Cultural concerns and parental authority take center stage. The introduction of CSE in the Philippines faces strong resistance due to cultural and religious sensitivities. Critics demanded a curriculum rooted in Filipino values, avoiding controversial topics like gender ideology and activism. Parental authority emerged as a key concern. Stakeholders demanded more parental involvement in shaping CSE content and the right to opt their children out of specific topics, except basic biology lessons. Proposals for a Filipino-centric approach. The Senate explored proposals to revisit the reproductive health law, ensuring that Do 31 aligns with its original intent, focusing on basic sex education for preventing pregnancies and STIs, and equipping parents to educate their children. There were strong calls to develop a uniquely Filipino sexuality curriculum that reflects the nation's cultural values and avoids indoctrination, reinforcing the sanctity of family life while addressing issues like teenage pregnancy within the constitutional framework. Stricter oversight and transparency demanded. To address concerns about controversial content, the Senate recommended stricter oversight of CSE materials, with clear boundaries on included topics and increased transparency in their development and dissemination. The path forward: revisiting and refining CSE. DepEd and DOH were directed to revisit and refine CSE implementation, ensuring alignment with the reproductive health law. Legislative proposals were also put forward to address controversial topics currently outside the scope of existing laws. The Kalabaw Media will continue to monitor this evolving situation and provide updates on the Senate's efforts to shape a culturally sensitive and practical approach to sexuality education in the Philippines.
Bridging the gap. Senate examines challenges in addressing teenage pregnancy and HIV, seeks stronger collaboration and improved access. Manila, Philippines. The Kalabaw Media continues its coverage of the Senate inquiry into teenage pregnancy and HIV among adolescents. The session focused on the challenges hindering effective intervention and explored potential solutions through stronger collaboration and improved access to healthcare services. Obstacles to healthcare access for teenage mothers. The alarming rate of repeat teenage pregnancies raised concerns about access to healthcare and support for young mothers. The Department of Health, DOH, acknowledged operational gaps, particularly in cases where parental or guardian consent is absent, limiting minors' access to essential reproductive health services. Similar challenges arise in providing HIV treatment to minors due to legal ambiguities and fear of parental litigation. Navigating parental involvement and the law. The debate on balancing parental rights with adolescents' needs continued, with emphasis on the reproductive health law's requirement of parental consent for certain services. However, questions remain about its practical implementation in emergencies. Legal scrutiny of CSE and the RH law. Legal experts discussed whether the current implementation of CSE under Do 31 exceeds the authority granted by the RH law. They raised the possibility of legal challenges to clarify CSE's alignment with the RH law. Critics questioned whether the CSE curriculum truly reflects the spirit of the RH law in addressing teenage pregnancies and HIV without overstepping cultural boundaries. Learning from global and local experiences. The Senate explored successful examples of culturally adapted CSE programs. Indonesia's tailored approach, sensitive to its cultural and religious context, improved adolescent health indicators. Local stakeholders in the Philippines emphasized the importance of culturally relevant content and collaboration with parents and communities. Investing in adolescent health, reaping the rewards. Data from the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, highlighted the significant economic benefits of investing in adolescent health. The country sees substantial returns for every dollar invested in preventing teenage pregnancies. The Senate recommended strengthening the curriculum to avoid unintended pregnancies, HIV, and gender-based violence. A roadmap for action, collaboration, access, and enhanced curriculum. To address the challenges, the Senate proposed several key actions. Strengthening collaboration. Enhance cooperation between DepEd, DOH, DSWD, and LGUs to provide comprehensive services and education, and mobilize communities to actively participate in reducing adolescent pregnancy and HIV rates. Improving access and training. Equip healthcare workers to handle adolescent concerns with sensitivity and expand access to contraceptives and reproductive health services while respecting legal and cultural contexts. Enhancing the curriculum. Refine the CSE curriculum to address better teenage pregnancies, HIV prevention, and gender-based violence. Start at younger ages by building skills such as critical thinking, consent, and body autonomy. The Kalabaw Media remains committed to providing updates on this critical issue as the Senate continues its work to improve the well-being of Filipino adolescents. Senate wraps up CSE inquiry, calls for Filipino-centric approach and stronger parental role. Manila, Philippines. The Kalabaw Media concludes its coverage of the Senate's comprehensive inquiry into Comprehensive Sexuality Education, CSE. The final session focused on the need for a culturally tailored program, clarified its legal basis, and addressed concerns about curriculum content and teacher preparedness. Crafting a Filipino-specific sexual education framework. A strong consensus emerged on the need for a culturally sensitive CSE program aligned with Filipino values. Stakeholders emphasized adapting global guidelines, such as UNESCO's framework, to create a local curriculum that respects Filipino culture and legal standards. Re-examining the legal basis and terminology. The Reproductive Health Law, RA 10354, was highlighted as a culturally appropriate foundation for sexuality education. Some suggested renaming the program Reproductive Health Education to better reflect its legal basis. The Department of Education, DepEd, acknowledged the need to review and clarify CSE policies for consistent implementation, addressing curriculum gaps and teacher preparedness. Concerns about discrepancies between pilot program materials and the final curriculum highlighted the need for more precise guidelines and improved teacher training. DepEd admitted inconsistencies in teachers' understanding of CSE stemming from vague policies in Department Order 31. Teachers reported difficulty aligning CSE topics with classroom instruction due to unclear guidelines. Empowering parents as partners in education. The Senate emphasized strengthening parental involvement through the Parental Effectiveness Service Program under DSWD. Parents were urged to play an active role in educating their children about sex, particularly in early childhood, ages 5 to 9. Faith-based and community initiatives were suggested to complement school-based education. Addressing controversial content and calls for suspension. Stakeholders voiced concerns about radical CSE topics, such as gender ideology and rights to sexuality. Recommendations included removing controversial issues, focusing solely on reproductive health, and preventing sexual abuse. Some senators even proposed temporarily suspending the program until inconsistencies are resolved, and teachers requested explicit, detailed curriculum materials to avoid misinterpretation. DepEd pledges review and collaboration. DepEd committed to reviewing and revising Department Order 31, considering feedback from parents, educators, and faith-based groups. The Senate encouraged ongoing discussions to refine the CSE legal framework and directed DepEd and DSWD to submit all relevant documents for review. The inquiry concludes, but the conversation continues. The hearing concluded with plans for follow-up sessions after DepEd submits its findings and recommendations. The Kalabaw Media will continue to monitor developments in this meaningful national conversation and provide updates as they become available.
This is a fantastic resource. Providing timestamps for each key discussion point makes this summary even more helpful and accessible. It lets readers quickly jump to the sections they most interest in within the longer transcript. Here's how this timestamped summary could be presented by the Kalabaw Media, perhaps as an interactive feature on their website, or as a detailed guide accompanying the full video recording of the Senate hearing. Senate inquiry into teenage pregnancy and HIV. A comprehensive summary with timestamps. The Kalabaw Media provides a detailed overview of the recent Senate hearing on teenage pregnancy and HIV, with timestamps to help you navigate the key discussions.